Time to turn to Lisa Nandy now, Labour MP, of course, and Shadow Levelling Up Secretary, live for us on College Green in Westminster. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. It looks a little bit miserable out there, but thank you very much for persevering. Lisa Nandy, can I talk to you just a little bit, first of all, before we get on to cost of living and issues I know that Labour are talking about this morning, what you make of these anti-monarchy protesters being arrested and the Metropolitan Police saying that they regret the arrest. 6 have been released, told they will not face any charges, no evidence they're about to commit a crime or had committed a crime. Do you think it was right for the Met Police to act in advance of the coronation and make those arrests?
Well, I think the Met have accepted that they made a mistake in this case and that 6 people were unlawfully detained and prevented from being able to take part in peaceful process. I think it's good that they've acknowledged that. I think the Mayor of London is right to ask for further answers about that. But I'm standing here in College Green right now. They're dismantling some of the different structures that were put up around the coronation. I wasn't here on Saturday, but I was watching it on TV, and it was an enormous occasion, an enormously complex policing operation, and I think we should acknowledge that this largely went off without a hitch, and that's in no small part down to a lot of individual officers from the Met and other forces who stepped in to make sure that that could go safely and smoothly and that everyone could enjoy it.
Yeah, there's no doubt at all in terms of that was a superb success. But again, we still have the rights to peaceful legal protest in this country. We're not quite sure which powers were used. So Ian Duncan-Smith was just suggesting that the new powers rushed in last week were not the powers used to make that arrest. Given there aren't any charges, it's difficult to know. But are you concerned that those powers that were rushed in basically take the powers of the police and the state too far in terms of being able to prevent anybody who is even conspiring, even planning to cause a nuisance or an annoyance to anybody?
Well, Ian Duncan-Smith is right that it's not clear what the problem was in this case. The protesters who were arrested appear to have been working with the Met Police in advance, who were aware of their plans. So I don't know whether it was an operational issue or a problem with the legislation. We did raise concerns when that particular piece of legislation was going through Parliament just a few weeks ago, that it was drawn very widely. This is an offence about locking on, so trying to prevent people from being able to glue themselves or lock themselves to cause an obstruction, something that has caused and can cause problems, particularly when it obstructs people or vehicles from going about their business. We did raise concerns at the time that this was drawn very widely, which would enable people, not just peaceful protesters, but people who weren't protesting at all, to potentially be pulled in as part of this legislation. But as I say, it's not clear at all whether that was the problem or whether the problem was an operational one, and I think the Mayor of London is right to say we need answers before we rush to judgment.
Indeed. Well, look, let's also talk about the answers we need to what the repercussions of the local elections last Thursday are. There's no doubt at all the Conservatives' pretend worst-case scenario was indeed the actual reality of what happened. They lost more than 1,000 seats. They lost the control of 49 councils. Terrible day for them. Very good day for Labour. But a lot of people are saying not good enough in terms of guaranteeing you would win the next election if that was turned into a general election vote. What more do you think you need to do to convince the British public to give you a majority next time round?
I think people have lost faith in politics over the last few years. We've had a really disruptive and divisive decade. We've found multiple ways to pit ourselves against one another. I think you and I have discussed it many times, Julia, but during Brexit, I think a lot of people lost faith in the political process and in politicians to resolve what became a standoff, an impasse in Parliament. And then we had, of course, Boris Johnson, who made the rules, broke the rules, lied about it and laughed about it. I think people are really struggling now with everything in their lives. The cost of everything is going up. A lot of our public services are on their knees. And we've done a lot of work in the last few years after our worst election defeat in 2019 to prove that we're fit to govern again. I think people are taking another look at us, and we've earned back people's trust in many parts of the country in the last few weeks. But we've got more work to do. He's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that's why Keir Starmer is saying to the Shadow Cabinet today there is more more work to do. The hardest part lies ahead of us. We've got to restore people's faith in the belief that politics can change things. We started to do that by setting out plans to get more nurses and doctors into our National Health Service. We started to do that by setting out plans to increase the amount of affordable housing in this country. And today we've got council leaders from our newly elected Labour councils converging on Westminster to talk about how in the first 100 days where they are in power across England, they're going to help people with the cost of living crisis. That's the sort of thing that we need to do now and every day between the next general election to convince people that there isn't just an opposition to this Tory government but a genuine alternative.
Well, you mentioned there, Keir Starmer's and his senior shadow cabinet members meeting with those 22 new council leaders today. They're all going to pledge to deliver emergency cost of living action plans within 100 days of taking control. What does that actually mean? I love the sound of an action plan. A lot of people are facing a cost of living crisis. In fact, our next topic after a break is going to be about people missing, payments to their mortgage, their rent. 2 million people missing paying household bills last month. That's going to get people into a lot of financial trouble in the future, not just now. What do these action plans actually involve? It sounds good. Is it all talk?
No, it's not all talk because Labour councils are already doing it across the country. In Leeds, for example, the City Council has stepped in to feed children on free school meals during school holidays who would otherwise go starving, hungry. In my own constituency in Wigan, the council isn't just supporting our local food banks, but they've also set up warm banks, which it pains me to say it out loud because it shouldn't be needed in the 21st century, but they've been opening up buildings so that people can go and stay warm during the winter months, can get a cup of tea, because we've had horrendous stories in Wigan and we've heard them in other parts of the country about older people using their bus passes to sit on buses all day just to keep warm. And we're doing our bit in every part of the country to make sure we keep council tax low, that we build more affordable housing and that we use every means at our disposal to help people, protect people from the Tory government at the moment.
I can ask you just finally also about a comment that was made on ITV on the day of the coronation. This is a comment made by one of the stars of Bridgerton, Joa Ando. She was on the sort of ITV set and they were talking about the coronation ceremony and then the appearance of the royal family on the balcony. And she said that we've gone from the rich diversity of the Abbey to a terribly white balcony. I'm very struck by that, she said. Would it be acceptable for a white actress to have said, what a terribly black balcony, talking about, I don't know, maybe when the Obama family were on the White House balcony or in any other circumstance? Why is it acceptable in this country for a person of colour to make comments about white people like that?
I mean, I don't know the actress or the comment that you describe. I think it's important that we can debate these things, but at the end of the day, the thing that struck me most about the coronation was there was that incredible rich diversity of faces in the Abbey. I was really encouraged to see as well that there was a lot of northern representation there. We had all our northern mayors out in force, suited and booted. Never seen them looking so smart. I think it was a fantastic celebration, actually, of people coming together. I wasn't sure what it would be like before it happened, but I think these moments really do bring people together in Britain. And like I said to you a moment ago, we've just found so many ways to divide ourselves from one another in recent years. I think it was a lovely day. I don't think we should spoil it.
OK, Lisa Nandy, Labour's Shadow Levelling Up Secretary, really appreciate us joining there from, as you can hear, College Green with the bells ringing behind her. Thank you for that.